Thousands of trade unionists marched to celebrate workers' rights. And so does the PLP. The Prime Minister talks politicizing parades. Plus, the opening of Nassau's newest subdivision, and the Social Services Ministry says it's prepared for that. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. Happy Labor Day. I'm Dana Smith, and NV12 starts now. Topping news tonight, thousands of workers from the various trade unions marched in solidarity on this Labor Day to celebrate workers' rights. However, union leaders made it clear they are fed up with the government, asserting that plans to withdraw labor aren't off the table. However, Prime Minister Perry Christie warned union leaders to be very careful. Monique Toot reports.
Thousands of Bahamian workers marched from Windsor Park to Western Esplanade this Labor Day, not just to celebrate workers' rights, but to voice their frustration with labor relations between the government and the trade union movement. They say they've reached their boiling point.
In what is undoubtedly a special day for unions, Trade Union Congress President Obie Ferguson says workers in this country are not very happy. 1 month after putting members on notice for mass industrial action, Ferguson says he intends to call an emergency meeting with union leaders this evening to take a definitive position on withdrawal of labor.
On this second Labor Day, that is very much on the table. We are planning to do what we said we're going to do, but we're going to do it in the interest of the Bahamas and the interest of the Bahamian workers. That is key. We have not put anything away, because to this second day, I cannot make an announcement on any significant arrangement or agreement reached as a result of those discussions. And the workers are calling for it. We almost left with no alternative but to do what we said we're going to do.
He says government's failure to address minimum wage, negotiate industrial agreements, or adjust several provisions in the Employment Act and Industrial Relations Act is creating a serious problem.
We're not threatening anybody. This is like a promise. You know, you make a promise, you have to carry it through. So it's not a threat. And that's the reason why we're doing it so public, because we want the public to know what we intend to do and the reason why.
Leader of the Bahamas Hotel Maintenance and Allied Workers Union, Lyndon Taylor, and Vice President of the Bahamas Customs Immigration and Allied Workers Union, Sloan Smith, say their unions stand ready.
We have already been treated. Right now it's at a boiling point. So right now the government needs to step in, do what they have to do, so that you could ease the tension that's taking place right now.
Are you all ready to withdraw your labor at this point?
Whatever the president says of the TUC, that's what we're going to do.
Of course not. Like we said before, we had an exercise and just having an exercise. Sitting down and negotiating, that's all it turned out to be. I understand, and we understand that the economy may have challenges, but we also have seen things that the government has done that would give the impression that they still have money. So everything has been an exercise and having an exercise. That's all it's been.
Decked out in a cheerleader's uniform featuring patterns from public school uniforms, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson says while teachers also have issues, today is about celebrating workers. Hotel Union President Nicole Martin agrees.
The biggest issue we have is still the union access, and it's still the money owed to teachers. But today, we're going to put that aside, and we're going to celebrate, and we're going to show unity with all the workers in this country. So I want to say solidarity, happy Labor Day to all the teachers in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
The biggest issue that we were facing was resolved through an act of parliament where we were validated, because the question of our validity kept coming up. So our biggest issue, thanks be to God, has been resolved, but we still have a lot more.
Despite union leaders' comments, Prime Minister Perry Christie, who marched among hundreds of PLP supporters today, said his government stands by its record of working with the trade union movement.
I think they must be very careful about that, because if the issues are economic, we've invited them to come and look at the books. You cannot get something that doesn't exist, and we've asked them to cooperate with us. You've seen that we've gone and we've compromised on taxation. We're saying we'll delay the implementation of a tax to raise revenue until January of next year. So the unions must know that there are still major challenges for the economy and revenue earning for the Bahamas government. It is only from that revenue we can pay them.
Labor Minister Shane Gibson says he hates to sound like a broken record, but the PLP government completed 10 of 12 outstanding labor agreements since coming to office in May 2012.
Have you ever gone on a job when everybody happy and say, boss, I happy, I like what I'm making, I like my position? There will always be issues. Look at what we have accomplished. We passed the validation bill the other day, which gave them validation. They couldn't exist without that. We have now passed the tripartite bill. I just came back from the ILO convention, where all of these workers are talking about not being able to have a dialogue. They can have a dialogue whenever they're ready for it. We brought in Bishop Neil Ellis to sit and meet and negotiate those outstanding issues that we can't get resolved. There is dialogue. What more do you want? Why are we keep dwelling on these few issues when we've accomplished most of the major issues? Most of the workers are happy.
Gibson says he feels great about the state of labor relations in the country. He says there will always be issues, but the important thing is continued dialogue. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.
The Progressive Liberal Party was the only political party to march in this year's Labor Day parade. Donning their bright gold PLP shirts, busloads of party supporters were transported down the parade route while Prime Minister Perry Christie, Deputy Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis, PLP Chairman Bradley Roberts, and other PLP MPs and senators marched behind the party's banner. Christie told reporters today he must give serious consideration to whether that should continue, noting that some people have argued that the parade should not be made political.
As the talk go out more and more that we really shouldn't be politicizing parades, we're going to have to give serious consideration to the issue. But again, we are a dominant political organization. My party has always wanted to make a clearly open signal to unions and labor that we are for them, for the working person in the country. We've always wanted to do that. And the only way we could do it as a party on Labor Day is to march as a group.
However, he noted that many of the party's leaders were at one point key members of the trade union movement.
The Progressive Liberal Party continues to be challenged in the sense that it is a Labor Day parade. We've always used this as an occasion to pay tribute to Labor as a party. And we felt as a party that came out of Labor, lots of the leaders of the PLP were Labor union leaders. And so we've always had this affinity, this commitment.
5 days after Labor Day, union leaders and thousands of their members are expected to hit the streets again, this time in a march to Rawson Square. Save the Bays Bahamas is organizing a Freedom of Information demonstration outside Parliament next week to demand that the government enact the draft Freedom of Information Act. TUC President Obie Ferguson says it's time for workers in this country to rise up and demand transparency.
The workers need to know what is going on. I mean, governments are there for the people. And I think all information that is critical for a civil society and for good governance, I think it's essential that we have it. I don't know why we're having problems in the Bahamas, but I suspect the workers can have to rise up, in my humble opinion, and they have to take a position. And I think once that is done, I think you will see the government moving towards sitting down in a realistic way and resolving the matter.
Customs and Immigration Union Vice President Sloan Smith and Teachers Union President Belinda Wilson say their unions will also support the march.
We believe in that. It's important to know how our money is being spent, you know. And if you look at it, all of the burden seems to be shifted down on the small man. But the reality is, a lot of contracts are given, and we do not know the true value of these contracts and if perchance there may be kickbacks, and that is a major concern.
Everyone in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas need to know what it is that that the government is doing, the policies that are made, the discussions in Parliament, so that we as citizens, as voters, can make a knowledgeable and intelligent decision whenever the question arises for us in terms of referendums.
The Freedom of Information Act was introduced in Parliament in October 2011, and a revamped version was passed in the Senate in February 2012. However, an enforcement date was never set. Prime Minister Christie said earlier this year his government will give renewed consideration to the act. Well, more than a week after Prime Minister Perry Christie accused the Ingham administration of delaying competition in the cellular market, the Bahamas telecommunications company's bargaining agent admits it worked in their favor. In his 2014-2015 budget communication, Prime Minister Perry Christie said when the F&M government negotiated the 2011 BTC sale, it ensured that the issue of competition in cellular mobile services was so legislated that competition would be unequivocally denied until April 2014 and essentially 2015. Well, President of the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union, Bernard Evans, says the move does have its benefits.
It's bittersweet for us. The monopoly period, but that's what the competition wouldn't be able to happen until maybe for another full year. So that means we'll still have the monopoly on mobile, and so all of the profits that will be made by BTC, we're in the contract negotiation period now, so we'll be able to agitate for more of that. As far as the Bahamian people is concerned, well, they're going to wait a little bit longer for competition.
That being said, Evans says the 2011 deal was fair to Cable and Wireless Communications, which purchased 51% of BTC's shares, but unfair to Bahamians.
What I'm saying from the heads of agreement that brought the sale about, they had a provision in there, or proviso, that there could be no kind of discussion until such time as the expiration of the monopoly period.
You think that was unfair and calculated?
I think it may be unfair to Bahamian people, but it was fair to Cable and Wireless. They got what they wanted.
I think the government worked in their favor then.
Absolutely. We've all believed that the agreement was drawn up by Cable and Wireless, and all the government did, the former government that was endorsed it.
Evans says he expects to meet with CWC CEO Phil Bentley as early as next week. Evans initially asked for union representatives to be appointed to the Telecom's Liberalization Committee to ensure the second cellular license is issued to Bahamians. He says it hasn't happened, but the union is happy with committee members selected.
We are confident in the person that has been selected for the committee, and based on what they've been telling us, they have the workers' best interests at heart, and so I believe one of the prerequisites that we always wanted was that whoever the license would be given to, well, number one, we have two issues. It will be Bahamianized, that's number one. I was glad to hear the Prime Minister said that a significant portion of whoever's issued the license will have Bahamian ownership in that, and so that's one. And the other thing is, we hope that they will allow union participation.